All right. So a couple things. I've got 2 weeks before it takes effect, but I'm officially employed again. I ended up taking that job down at Helena. I interviewed for that city job, and I technically got that job too. The starting pay was low, and they wanted me to get all these certifications, even though the starting pay was low, and which they were paid to get the certifications, but they wanted me to do all this stuff, and it was only 18 bucks an hour only 18 bucks an hour. I probably could have lived off of it, but with everything else. But it was their first time hiring somebody full-time for that position, and they were still trying to figure out what they wanted it to be, and so I was going to kind of be a guinea pig on top of everything. I didn't feel like that job was very me. So I took the one down at Helena. That one's, they're starting me off at 23 bucks an hour, which is more than what I started off at working at Baler, and the work down there is going to be easier. And there's several opportunities down there that are going to help me with the farm side of things, because they'll pay for me to get my applicator's license, which I needed to be getting anyhow, because up to this point I've been buying all my spray. I've been being grandfathered in under people I've been working under because they've had applicators licenses, so I could just buy under them. Well, I guess now they're looking at changing some rules, so you might not be able to do that anymore. You might have to buy under your own license. So they'll pay for me to get my license because I'm going to need it down there anyhow. They'll pay for me to get a CDL because you need a CDL down there to drive truck, because whether it's a pickup or whatever, since you're driving for hire and whatever, you at least need a ag C or a F endorsement or ag CDL or whatever you call it in your part. They at least want that, but they'll pay for you to get a full-blown CDL, which is what might be what I opt for. So if and when I ever get a semi, I'll have a CDL. They'll do all my fertilizer spreading for free with their spreader. They'll do all my, or I could do all the spreading for myself. If the spreader wasn't being used and I wanted to go spread, I could use their big spreader. Same thing, they'll do all my spraying for free, or if it's not being used, I could hop in it and go do my own spraying with their big sprayer. So the only time the hours down there are going to get interesting is obviously in the spring, because that's everybody's busy time. But they promised they would work with me on it, and they promised it wouldn't be a problem. Now, we'll see how well they can hold to that promise, but the manager, I've known the manager down there for a long time, and he's a good guy. He's a man of his word. I honestly think that they're going to try their damnedest to work with me on it. And I'm going to try my damnedest to not be, obviously, you got to remember which side of the bread your butter's on. So I'm not going to try to take advantage or make anybody have to pull my weight. But we should be able to make it work, and I think I'm going to enjoy that job a lot more than the city job. It sounded good. And then I interviewed, and it just, I don't know, it's just like, this isn't me. So that's the route we went. I went for, it wasn't even an interview down there. They just wanted to give me the official job offer. So basically I went down there this morning, they gave me their spiel about what the job is and said they want me to take it. So I took it. So that's that, and I'll start, we put down my first day is going to be August 13th, which is actually a Tuesday, because it was going to take about 2 weeks for the onboarding process before I could have a start date anyway. So at that point, I was like, I didn't want to work for a couple days and then have to take a day off, because our fair tractor pull is the 12th, and I kind of wanted, I said, it's not a big deal, but they said, yeah, go ahead. So, because they're entering into their slow time anyway, so it's going to be a good, hold on, somebody's here. Alright, it was the tree trimming guys from the power company wanted to ask some questions. So anyhow, so there's that on the job side. And then yesterday I was gonna, my full intent with that crimper was I was just gonna do like a exploratory real quick just to see why it was all of a sudden started making all that noise. Because I mean, it always had a ting to it since I started running it, and since we went through it 2 winters ago, whenever it was that I did it. But it got really obnoxious for some reason. And I thought it was that rebar strike, because that put 2 great big hickeys in the rolls. So I straightened those out. Obviously didn't take care of the banging. So I'm working on it yesterday, and I'm looking for rub marks, and I'm finding rub marks, and I'm trying to straighten stuff out, but it's not getting any better. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm finally sitting there, and I'm rolling it over, and I'm rolling it over, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, that top roll looks weird. So I laid a straight edge on it and started rolling it over. The top roll in that crimper had damn near a 1/2 inch of run out in the center of it. It's like, that'll do it. So I doubt it's something that happened recently, because I didn't see any major strike marks. But I'm guessing whatever did that was whatever caused all the carnage to make the 2 bearings on the drive side explode, and whatever knocked all those ribs out, or all the flighting off of that drive side. But anyway, so what started out as like just figuring out what was wrong with it turned into 4 hours later I had all the guts completely pulled out of it. So now I got the rolls out of it, and I took the top roll down. There's a place down here just south of the elevator that I haul into that builds like mill rolls and like big like 20 feet long rolls. Took it down there just for shits and giggles to see if they could straighten it. He didn't even flinch. He said, yeah, bring it down, we'll mess with it. Said the way we indicate, we probably can't get it perfect, but we ought to be able to get it within a 1/16 or so. And I was like, that's probably about how close it was from the factory, because it's just a piece of farm equipment. So I'm gonna get the flighting fixed on it, so that's all, and get them cleaned, or get it cleaned up, so they're not dealing with a dirty, nasty roll. And next week we'll take that back down there, get that straightened out, and then we're gonna foam fill them. Got to do some looking into which foam is going to be the best, because you want to use a closed cell foam. That way, if any moisture gets in there, the foam doesn't suck it up like a sponge. So thinking about like foam insulation, like spraying foam insulation, if I can find a closed cell version of that, or I got to look at that insulation that they make now for it's not insulation, it's just foam, expanding foam, but that they use for setting like fence posts and stuff. Look into that, see if that's closed cell, or look for the best option, and then go from there. So that's the crimper, and hopefully get that roll straightened out, and then hopefully that's not striking in the center anymore, and it'll quiet down. And between not hitting in the foam, hopefully it'll just be down to a regular old tink like a normal steel roll crimper, instead of sounding like it's trying to destroy itself. Because they always make noise, they just don't make that much noise, because holy cow. But anyhow, now that the introduction is out of the way, gonna mess with the baler a bit this morning, and should be able to I was checking hay this afternoon. It should rake today. It would probably bale today, but I'm gonna rake it today, bale it tomorrow, just to be safe. And I get done with this, if I got time, I'm probably going to try to get my boss's hay wagon put back together, so that I can get those out of here and back to him. I guess I can't call him my boss anymore, because now I officially don't work for him. But so that's where we're at. Let me get stuff pulled out where we can get at it, and then we'll check these knotters out. I brought the book over, and we'll just see if there's any smoking gun. I went over them between second and third cutting or was it after third cut? I don't know. I think it was between second and third cutting last year. Yeah, it was between second. I went over those knotters to make sure, and that's when I found out the bill hooks were too tight, and I thought I had it, but apparently I don't. All right. And also, I'm going to apologize for not videoing working on the crimper. When I set off on that project yesterday morning, it was supposed to just be a short see if I can find the problem, and next thing I know, it turned into I had the whole thing tore apart. Wasn't really where I was going for with it. So there'll be a video putting it back together. So anyhow, we are not stripping knots. Oh, and also the other thing I'm going to mention, because it was relevant and I was going to mention it on the last video and forgot. Baler pickup teeth for these things, if anybody needs them. They're the same teeth on the 60 all the way up through like the 520, 720. That series. Maybach has them reproduced, and they're like $3 and something odd cents a piece. So, because I broke a pickup tooth on this thing doing hay, so I ordered 2 to make sure they're right, but they are right, so I got a spare, and if need be I can get more. But so yeah, if you need pickup teeth, Maybach has them, brand new. Now, as far as we are here, I guess what we need to do because this knotter never gave a fit. There's no flat spots in the roller for the wiper arm, so that rules that out. I don't see any issues in the wiper arm roller track. So basically about all we can do here is we can trip the knotter and roll it over until the wiper arm rolls the right way. I'm gonna have to, I forgot the way they did the, I always forget this when I'm working on it. So the way they did the tongue on these things, the plunger arm cannot make a full revolution without hitting the tongue while it's folded up. So it's lucky that you can't hook the PTO up when this thing's folded up, because not that you would have necessarily have any reason to turn the baler on when it's not unfolded. But and by all rights, if something did happen, a shear bolt would take it. But anyhow, okay, now we can roll it over. Gotta catch it in the right spot. So, and the fact that it didn't strip the knots right now doesn't surprise me, because there's nothing in the chamber, nothing necessarily works correctly. But the wiper arm is coming plenty past the end of the bill hook. I can get them knots dug out of there so that we can look. Let me get... I want to roll it all the way up onto that cam right there so we're for sure at full extension. Okay, so I got the knots dug out of the bill hook so that we can see better. And there's plenty of extension past the end of the bill hook on both of them, and they're both pretty much equal. Twine disc tension's not a problem. You can yank on that as hard as you want. You're not getting the twine out of them twine discs. There's no burrs on the wiper arm. There's no burrs on the bill hook. I'm going to consult the manual real quick and just see what kind of troubleshooting tips it gives, but I'm wondering if it's twine tension. I'm wondering if I don't have enough tension on it coming out of the box. Because there's nothing, the knives are sharp, cutting the twine was never a problem. It's cut the twine every time. It's always just been stripping it out of the bill hook that's been, or not always, but it's the problem it was having was stripping it out of the bill hook. And bill hook tension. Now damn it, I reached in there and checked it before. How did I? Oh, before the wiper arm hasn't been in that spot. Because bill hook tension literally only has to be, I mean, that's a common problem, is too much tension on the bill hook. It's literally only got to be tight enough to make sure the knot doesn't slip out while it's tying the knot. Any more than that is too much, and there's a very fine line. So I'm gonna get the book out real quick and just read what it has to say about the situation, because I'm not seeing any smoking guns hanging out at me. And the wiper arms are rubbing the bottom of the bill hooks like they're supposed to. It's not like there's excessive tension there. So let me just see what we can come up with. Okay, so I flipped the knotter up to get a better look. The book doesn't say anything that I haven't already checked. Basically, it just says, look for burrs on the bill hook, check wiper arm clearance, spring tension on the bill hook, which is not too excessive, and possibility of the cam hanging up or catching, which it's not. So, but let's see if I can do this one-handed. There's plenty of, I guess there's not, I guess the better term would be, there's not an excessive amount of clearance in between the wiper arm and the bill hook. So it should wipe the knot clean. I suppose we could possibly do a little polishing on that, but I'm not seeing too much clearance there. I guess there is a little bit of a hickey right there, and I wouldn't think that that would make anything hang up, but I guess maybe it doesn't take that much. Does this bill hook have that same little hickey in it? Yeah, it kind of does. but even with the bill hook pushed or seated all the way up where it belongs, there's not. So I'm not seeing any obvious smoking gun. And I guess the more that I think about it, twine tension coming from the box couldn't be a problem, because by the time you're stripping the knot off the bill hook, the cut's already been made, so you're relying on the tension of the knot on the bale. So twine tension coming out of the box is irrelevant at that point. But it's a clean cut. The knife is plenty sharp. There's no clearance issues with the knife striking anything. So yeah, there's no bam, that's the problem. Alright, so I fiddled around, did a little polishing on the bill hook. Took the spring and everything off so that you could actually work on it. There wasn't really anything that I would call a burr, but I don't know what else it could be. There's nothing. They said 1/2 to 3/8 of an inch of stroke off the end of the bill hook. It does that. There's plenty of contact between the bill hook and wiper arm. Twine tension is out the door once you're stripping the knot off, because the knot's already been cut. So it's obviously not slipping out of the twine disc, because it makes the next knot. So I don't know. It's a mystery. Guess we'll just have to see what it does. I didn't really change anything. I just polished it up, but I don't know what else to look at, because there's nothing out of the ordinary about it. So fill this back together, and I guess I'll get things greased up while I'm working on it. I need to grease the rake so that it's ready to go here in a little bit. Grease this thing so it's ready to go tomorrow. And by that time it'll be lunchtime, and by the time I get done eating lunch, I think there'll be enough dew burn off that we can think about going and raking. Man, this stuff just doesn't even look like nice hay. It's just bleh. This stuff would probably, well, back there in the back where it's somewhat decent stand, it probably still a little damp on the bottom, but this stuff would all make today. But by the time I get done raking, ain't gonna have time to do any baling anyhow, so farm. Plenty of room to add more outbuildings, take that patch of trees out, open the pasture up. It'd be even better if this field was all one piece. I'm guessing it'd probably be about 25 acres total if you put it all together. need to remember that drawbar really needs to jump over one more set of holes. Actually, I wonder. Let's just do this for now. Those arc clips just get ripped out. That'll be a little better. But yeah, the drawbar really, at least for this tractor, needs to be over here probably. But swinging drawbar works. Anyhow, we need to kick it into gear. That's way too low. I think I am sitting on a little bit of a hump, so that doesn't help, but there we go. Alrighty. Let's rake a little hay, shall we? Not really any alfalfa in this. It ain't like you can't run forward. It ain't like you gotta worry about beating the leaves off. Handle got to come down just one more notch. piece is done. Luckily, I dare say the rake kicked about half the buckhorn out. It's laying kind of scattered. I mean, there's still quite a bit in the windrow, but I'd say at least half of it's just scattered out on the ground, so I guess that's something. But this is triple raked. I tripled everything here in the long rows, and the short rows were thick enough I just doubled them. But I probably could have quad raked the front, this part, because it's just that's triple raked, and that's still not a very big windrow. So, and I would say you're gonna have to haul ass to keep the baler full, but you can't because you'd never stay in the tractor seat. So anyhow, get spun around here so we can get on down the road, and we'll go start working on my stuff. I do love this mix. It makes a really nice pretty hay. I thought about getting a feed value analysis done on it just for shits and giggles to see how good. I mean, it looks like really nice hay, but just because it looks like nice hay doesn't mean it is nice hay. But there's just enough green stuff that got flipped up off the bottom that hasn't really wilted down yet. It'd probably be good for round baling right now. I just wouldn't trust it in squares. I mean, it'd probably be all right in squares, but we got one more good day of drying, so. But I didn't figure there was this much out here, but I mean, it made some pretty decent windrows. It looked kind of thin once it wilted down, but I mean, it made bigger windrows than that one we were just at. I think this field's doing better. Of course, this field also had a lot more rain on it than Shelly's mom's did last year for the first year on it. Because it's been its first like 6-8 weeks in drought. But this field ain't doing too bad for first year, second cutting. We'll have to see what third cutting looks like, but then we'll fertilize it lightly one more time after third cutting, and that'll be it for the year. But anyhow, let's go see what Shelly's mom's ends up looking like. It was a little thicker than yet. It was thicker than this yet, so that ought to be some pretty nice hay over there. Or well, they're both really nice hay fields. There should just be more of it over there. Oh yeah, second year on this hay mix. Very nice. I think second cutting this year is going to be about like my first cutting off of it last year. I almost probably could have got away with single raking it again, but I doubled it up. You just, every once in a while you'll see a little green knot like that, but it'll, now that it's fluffed up and off the ground, it'll dry out pretty quick. And tomorrow we shouldn't have any issues. But just look at that, like the way it retains color, and oh, this is just, I love this mix. It doesn't bleach out, it makes a nice pretty bale. There ain't nobody likes baling bleached out hay. So, but I'm gonna take a stab that between the 3 acres being second cutting, I'm gonna guesstimate 100 bales off all of it. We'll see how close I am. If it does more than that, I'll be ecstatic. But I'm maybe 40, 45 off of this one, and Probably 50 or so, 50, 60 off the other one, maybe. Maybe. Guess we'll find out. I just love that color. I can't get over it. I love this hay. Just need to get enough of it that I can start selling it instead of just giving it to Shelly's mom, and then we'll be all set. So anyhow, I guess with that being said, I'm gonna go get the rake put away. It's gonna be a while before the crimper goes back in the barn now that it's all tore apart at the shop. And tomorrow we should be able to, sometime after lunch, get on baling. So, and tomorrow I gotta fix my boss's hay wagon so I can get that back to him, because I'm tired of it sitting in the yard and I'm sure he's gonna want it back. So anyhow, with that being said, that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Okay, couple quick closing thoughts that I thought of on the way back here. Actually, one of them I wanted to mention and forgot when we were back at the field, and then another one popped into my head because of this thing right here. Has anybody noticed that it seems like the worse shape a tractor's in when you get it, the more reliable it seems to be once you get it back running? Like, it's kind of like dragging home a stray dog. Like, you feed them a little bit and you make them realize they're finally at a good home, and they just go and go and go and go. Like, this thing right here literally came out of a junkyard. It sat in a junkyard for 23 years that we know of, didn't move an inch. Got it home, took all the crap off of it that it was hanging on it for the hack job snowplow they had on it, and went through it, got it running, fixed all the stuff that needed immediate fixing to make it operational, and basically haven't done a thing to it since other than change the oil and grease it. And it starts, it runs, it goes, and it has no right to, because by all rights it's still a junkyard tractor. I mean, there's still a lot of crap on it that needs fixing, but it just goes. And it's not the only tractor I've been around or had or know of that's like that. There's a lot of tractors around that people just drag home that are complete basket cases, and they do the absolute bare minimum to get them going, and then once they're going, they just go and go and go and go and go for no apparent reason. Which ties back into that little comment that got made in the video of baling straw that a lot of people got a kick out of. I swear to God, this old stuff's alive. It's got a soul to it. It's like that. It's like that little thing right there. Sat in that barn at that Studebaker collection for the trees that they were cutting down in front of the doors were like 16, 18 inches in diameter. So however long it takes for that. Girl busted off of it, hood hanging, hadn't run in God knows how long, and I didn't even put a tune-up kit in it. And it's running and driving, and it's the same thing. But so that was the one thought. And then the other one was that I wanted to talk about at the field is, for next year, just for safety's sake, I'm gonna have to invest in a tedder. I probably could have got this cutting made in 3 days instead of 4 had I had a tedder to use. I could have borrowed one, but I didn't, because I didn't want to be a bother. I did have one lined up in case, but I didn't want to bother anybody, and I don't really like borrowing equipment, because it never fails that you borrow something and then it breaks on your watch. So I'm not going to try to do it before third cutting. I mean, third cutting is usually light and you don't need to ted it anyhow, but especially like first cutting, if I didn't have the dry spell that I had and I had to try to make first cutting, we would have had a struggle as thick as that stuff was. And with picking up more hay ground, I've gotten away with just the conditioner for now, but I'm going to have to, if I'm going to get into this halfway somewhat serious, I'm going to have to invest in a tedder. It's just, there's not going to be a way around it. I'd like to just find a little 2-basket pull type. I don't want a 3-point. I just want a nice, I'd want a nice little 2-basket pull type. That'd be plenty. I don't feel that I have enough ground to justify a 4-basket and a 2-basket. Well, I mean, this thing can handle a 4-basket. If you get 4 baskets in heavy hay, though, it's kind of surprising how much power them things will suck. But like I said, I just like to find a nice little 2-basket pull type tedder just to have as a safety net. That way, because it's one of them deals where if you get caught without it, you're gonna wish you had it. So, and that's one of those things I honestly, rather than waiting to try to find a deal on a good used one, I might just bite the bullet and go out and price around a little bit and see what I come up with. But I might just bite the bullet and go out and just buy a brand new one and just be done with it, and not have to deal with dicking around trying to find one. Because it seems like even when you find them used, they're normally beat to living hell, and people still want a small fortune for them. So honestly, I think I'd be better off just to buy a new one. That way I know it's not going to be a problem child. But I can't remember what brand our deer dealer sells. It's not Crone, but it's that color, green and gray. I don't think it's Citrex, because Citrex is red. I can't remember what brand they sell. I'm sure our New Holland dealer can get a New Holland one, or I think they sell some short line stuff, but that's through Burnips. And then we got Osra is our one IH dealer, and then Bain Welker, which I'm not a fan of Bain Welker. No, I'm not a fan. But price around, see what I can come up with. Ironically, one of the family members of Osra watches the channel. I've met him in person. He's a cool dude. Met him down at Rantoul, and then have been in the same place as him a few other times. We just haven't passed each other. But might get a hold of him and see what they got for, or just since you know they're a dealer, maybe he can put feelers out, and when if they get a nice one in on trade or something, let me know. But either way, that's kind of my plan for next year, is to look for, I'd like to find a 5-bar rake so that I don't have to keep using that one, because not that it's a bad rake, it's just parts for those things are almost impossible to find. As far as I know, you can't, there's nobody that makes a tooth or a rake tooth for it that's close. So I want to stop using that one before I break something that can't be replaced or is going to be an ordeal to replace. There's an Oliver 207 that's been floating around on Tractor House that I've been watching for probably 8 months, close to a year maybe. It's been on there a while. I mean, maybe it hasn't been a year, but it seems like it's been on there forever. Up by Muskegon. They just want way too much for it for what it is. I mean, and there ain't a lick of paint on it. It's on car tires. It looks like, I mean, it doesn't look like a bad rake. It looks like a rag. It looks like it spent its life in a fence row. And they still want $950 for it. But I've been thinking on it, and I don't know, now that the job situation's figured out, it's tempting, but now that the job situation's figured out, I probably also need to look at a drill. With all this ground I picked up, we have to do something on that front too. So I don't know, we'll figure it out. But anyway, that's kind of the thought process heading into next year, is something like that. So anyhow, now that I've wasted 8 more minutes of your time, that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one, for real this time.